It's the SDG Podcast. Before we get started, you can check us out on the web at solutiondesign.com/podcast or find us on all the social medias, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Solution Design Group.
All right, we're back. Another podcast. Thanks for joining, everybody. Today we got Peter Lawrence with us.
Hi there.
And we got Chad Juttner and Allison Lorenzo. And I'm Kyle Bacher. And we were all at OSN on Wednesday, Open Source North 2024 at St. Thomas University in St. Paul. So I got some stats. It was the 9th year. We had 1,200 attendees, nearly 1,300 registrants, which is good. 52 sponsors, 42 tables in there, which if I would have thought there had been like 25. I can't believe there's 42. And I knew like 6 or 8 people at those tables. 48 presentations.
That was a
Didn't
lot.
have any no-shows, which was good. And it was my first OSN. Last year we did a recap.
Wait. This was your first one ever?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Well, I'm not a developer. I don't cut code. I don't use all those tools. I
heard you were a low-code developer.
Low-code developer, yeah.
Yeah, that counts.
Very low-code.
And a consultant.
I'm more of a configurator. Yeah, consultant, low-code builder. There was a lot. There was a lot there. I kind of stayed in an AI kind of security track. And then if I was divided between 2 sessions, the building was the deciding factor. Am I in the building right now, or do I have to walk? What were your highlights at the conference?
Well, I'll start. This was my first St. Thomas OSN. I hadn't been since we'd been back at Normandale, so I'm not sure how many OSNs that puts my gap at, but it was amazing. Like when I walked in, I had expectations of a small foyer with a few tables, and it's apparently been a really long time since I've gone to OSN, longer than I expected, because there were, I don't know, half a dozen tables being, handled by SDG folks, helping me get my name tag and breakfast and coffee, and looking at the sponsor tables. I agree with you, Kyle. I would have guessed 25 if you made me guess. I attended all the buildings except for one, and I'm not sure. I almost attended the 4th building just to attend all the buildings. I chose not to, and I was pleasantly surprised. Chad, how about you? You were speaking.
I was, yeah. This
again.
I didn't really speak last. I was on a panel last year, which was nice.
Are you telling me that you were on a panel and you didn't speak up 34% of the time?
Being on a panel, the amount of preparation it takes to be on a panel, as opposed to the amount of preparation it takes to be a presenter, an independent presenting a topic, it's 2 very different things.
Very true.
And so, I thought it was, the weather was amazing.
Outdoor lunch.
So that was outside of it was windy, but it was gorgeous out. I actually didn't get to visit many of the vendor booths. But I did take not really an AI track. I just wanted to find the presentations that sounded weird, and not weird in a bad way, but like not just because like half of them were AI, I think, right? Because that's a thing right now.
Out of your comfort zone, of your knowledge zone.
Yeah, mine was AI. I didn't think I was going to pick up anything new from, any other AI topics. But I did attend one that had the word hellscape in the title. It was about screen scraping government websites. It was it was presented by Riley. I forget her last name, but Riley did an amazing job.
That looked very interesting.
It was super cool. It was really, really cool. And I was able to connect with her afterwards. So the way I attend OSN is, there's the morning, there's the presentations. I'm usually prepping for my, like last year and this year both, I prepped before my talk or panel or whatever. So I don't really get to attend the morning sessions much. And then lunch in the afternoon. And then all of a sudden we have a happy hour in the big field house. And then after the happy hour, we host a after party, kind of a word of mouth thing. And I was able to get some of the presenters to come there and talk even more. So my experience there is I have a great day. The talk that I went to, though, Riley's was my favorite, right? Because talking about the relevance of, I was talking to her about how I started my career in the mid to late 90s screen scraping websites using Perl.
Nice.
And a lot of weird old stuff. And she said, yeah, I'm still doing that in 2024 for government sites, using a lot of the same tools that you probably used way back then. So it was kind of neat to see her that my quarter century old experience is still relevant. But yeah, I had a very nice day. Allison?
Well, I have to agree with you on the weather. I feel like just having the campus as the venue, so you get to walk around outside between the buildings and you get to bring your lunch out to the lawn and eat out there, is really nice, as opposed to like some conferences I've been to where it's like in a hotel or like one big kind of warehousey room and you're stuck indoors the whole time. So that was really cool, I think. So I'm a user experience designer. So the sessions I attended were not developer focused, but I went to one from an employee of Riot Games, who is also a very good friend of mine and used to work at SDG as another user experience designer. She spoke on how to have good design goals and anti-goals. And then I went on one on accessibility and one on inclusion in design.
Nice.
So there was still, and there always has been in previous OSNs too, but this year as well, there was stuff for non-developers to go to as well. And it was very well attended. So I was happy to see that kind of diversity in the topics in the program. And I feel like with accessibility, there's always more that you can learn. You could spend a whole year making that your sole focus. But I always come out of those sessions with little nuggets that I can apply. And the inclusion topic, pull up the name and give proper attribution here. Apologies while I scroll through. Sorry, it's probably going to have to be edited.
Yeah, I went to Megan's as well. I'm gonna say her name.
Megan Taylor.
It was phenomenal. She talked so fast. It was like she was done in like 20 minutes, and which was good because there was a lot of questions. But the game, League of Legends, I'd heard of, but I don't know all the gameplay jargon. So there was segments where she just went off in the gameplay world, and I even said at one point, I have no idea what you just said, but I got a lot out of that. My favorite was the concept of the anti-goal.
Yeah.
Like deliberately, figuring out what you don't want to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
I thought that was cool.
Did you find that?
Yeah. Well, her example, right, is, when you're given a project by your boss, you might want to come up with like some design goals. So her example was you might be told to add more emojis to the game. To figure out what you don't want to accomplish, your anti-goal, you could just say not add more emojis, and that's your anti-goal. Cool. But that's not like super helpful. It's more useful to get towards like the root causes for your goals. So not just add emojis, but like add more ways for people to engage socially within the game in patterns that they're already familiar with. So that's a more nuanced goal that gets clearer as to like whether you're hitting it or not. And a more useful anti-goal is like, we don't want to break people's muscle memory because they've been playing this game for maybe like decades and they're very used to a particular angle and click style to like engage with these patterns. So if you mess with that, you can really make people mad. And she would say a couple of times she doesn't want to end up on the front page of Reddit for making League of Legends players mad. So laying out like, here are all of the things that could go wrong and these landmines that I really don't want to step on. So I thought that was very cool. And it reminded me of this practice called painstorming that I used to do in a previous job where it's like brainstorming for a design prompt, but instead of coming up with the best design possible, you try to come up with the worst design possible. And it's like a fun, goofy exercise you can do in like a workshop setting. Like an example is if you are designing a TV remote control, the worst example could be like, it's as heavy as a brick and you have to use two hands to hold it, and it's really uncomfortable, and the numbers are in a random order and it's all touch, so you have to look at like where the buttons are, and you have to like flip it over to direct it to the TV. So like through these really goofy examples of like what the worst possible solution could be, you're also getting towards those anti-goals of knowing, if we start going in this direction, we're gonna miss the mark. We're gonna make people mad. It's not gonna be a success. So I very much enjoyed that whole presentation as well by Megan.
You were commenting on the name of the presenter for the inclusion or the...
Yes. So that presentation was called How Inclusive Design Can Benefit Your Business and Create Better Experiences for All by Cassie Gibbons. So kudos to Cassie. That was really cool. And she made it interactive by, well, first of all, the presentation was about, not just making experiences inclusive in terms of what you might think of in terms of like supporting different devices around accessibility, like screen readers and all that. That
Right.
Again is very important, but she also bridged it out to include, hey, are your forms inclusive of everyone's experiences in terms of, maybe their gender identity, or is your copy, the text on your webpage inclusive of people who have English as a second language? Like, are you making it simple enough to understand? Are you including huge images or like really fancy animations that are excluding people who have low internet bandwidth, or might be sensitive to motion? So kind of bridging out to all these other aspects of inclusion. And towards the end, she had this fun interactive bit where she gave every attendee 2 cards when they walked into the room, one for inclusive and one for exclusive. And she would show an example of a screen and say, okay, who thinks this is an inclusive screen or an exclusive one? And her point wasn't to say like, there's a right or wrong answer and I'm testing you, but rather like, hey, look around the room and see like the color-coded cards that people are holding up. And you can see what you might think of as perfectly inclusive. Others with very different experiences or backgrounds might notice something that is exclusive. So just proving like there's a lot of people out there who aren't like you and might have other perspectives, and like, all we can do is keep learning about those other people and make sure that we're trying to include as many voices and perspectives as possible, because we're just one person and we tend to work amongst coworkers who are also like us in a lot of ways, right? Geographically and interests and professional backgrounds, all that sort of stuff. So just
A lot of
interesting
developers at SDG, that's for sure.
Yeah. Right. Makes sense, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. You just gotta be intentional about reaching out to others too.
Right. And like, what, 90% of the time it doesn't hurt the design or the wording or anything like that to be more inclusive, less restrictive, anything like that. It might actually make it more clear, more easy to read for everyone, right? It's not just a small group of folks. It's helping everybody by eliminating some of the things that are getting in the way.
Exactly. Yep, totally agree. In fact, I think that Cassie gave an example of, she said there was this piece of technology, this device that used gestures as inputs, because I think the keyboard and mouse were not working for this creator of this device. So I think it was called like a Fingerworks pad, and it was bought by the iPhone, and they incorporated all of those gestures. So now everyone is using a lot of those things that were invented for a totally different purpose to swipe around their iPhone and long press and stuff. So
right.
That was a cool example that I hadn't heard before.
That's really neat.
Yeah, good ideas, and I think good usability, things like that tend to, and all of a sudden you have the multi-scroll on PC laptops, not just the MacBooks. And it's like, oh, I can do this here too. That's cool. So I went to an AI security one that, let me find, it was called The Future of AI and Security, presented by Jeannie Warner. And just the experience she has in that field. And the way she was describing it, it was like one of those things where I don't remember any of it, but I loved every minute of it. Nice. I'm like, she has the slides at a PDF, and there are tons of information on there. Like,
one of the nice things about OSN is a lot of speakers posted their slides in the Slack channel, so you can always revisit too.
Oh, that's right. There's a Slack channel. I'm really bad at using technology. But yeah, and the one Greg did, Peter, the one we went to, like there was nuggets in there. He did one on, I should get the name of that one too. I don't want to mess it up. Do you have it, Peter?
Something with laziness, but I don't remember which.
Innovating laziness.
There you go.
And it wasn't just the techniques he used to innovate. It was the math.
Right.
He had these equations to help, kind of the decision making around that, where, yeah, you're only saving this much time, but you're saving this much time 100 times this year and next year and the following year. And he had a lot of little tools and things he used. I think that's the thing, is some of these might not be fully geared toward like somebody in my position. He's showing examples of those tools, but he still got a lot out of it.
Right.
Just that process automation thinking, I think, was good.
Well, and the part that he really extended it for me was I'd seen the comic on XKCD where he talked about, if you spent, 20 hours trying to do this 5-minute task and the payoff would be after 30 years, is that really worth it? But where he brought it back was, and you don't make a mistake that takes down production during the, doing that task over those 30 years and affecting this many people for this amount of time. That's where it really, like, yes, it seems silly to automate that, but you're also error proofing it or error resisting it by making it automatic and doing the work that a human would do normally, right? And I think that's a lot of what AI is attempting to do at this point, is to try to eliminate some of that humanness out of the production of code or throwing together some quick answers to things, or maybe not. I'm not sure. Everybody's silent on that one, so I'm just going to back away from that one. I'm going to back away slowly from that one.
The easiest way to error-proof things is to take humans out of the picture, bypass the human element, because it's impossible for humans not to make mistakes.
You never mistype if you're looking things up in the database. You never decide whether it's an L or a 1, which, there's actual typewriters that have been created in the past that had no 1 because they just expected you to use lowercase l. Like, that was their typeface that they used, and they just saved the point. Well, maybe it was 10 cents at that time on making that one key to strike the ribbon, right? So
yeah, but 10 cents back then would buy a loaf of bread.
That's what I mean. Like, it was an expensive thing at the time, but nowadays it seems ridiculous to leave that out or to have that missing. But
I was reading through this the session descriptions and speakers and stuff, and it's like, oh, if I could go back, my day would be different because I go see all these. And that, in every time slot there was, all these different alternatives.
Right. Well, I missed Chad's because I thought it was at 1 and not at 11, and so I was like, oh, I'll go to this thing at 11. This will be great. Okay, now I want to go to Chad's. Where's that? Oh, that was at 11. You missed it. And I'm sure it was wonderful, Chad. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not saying it wasn't. I think it was wonderful from what I heard and worth going to.
I don't know. I'm sorry, man. I do like the 11 a.m. time slot. It's right before lunch. It's not the very first presentation of the day, or it's not the first round of talks during the day, when people could potentially be late or,
Everybody's warmed up. They're all there.
Exhaustion hasn't set in. I'll admit I was going to watch one of the 3 p.m., but my brain was I was a little fried.
My brain was fried. My brain was fried after lunch, listening to all the stuff. I forgot, though, by the end of the day, I'm like, oh, that's right. I hate going to school.
I do think, as far as like conventions like this go, I am impressed with how well run, Jeff Urban does an amazing job.
Yeah, shout out to Jeff.
How well organized this is. And I know we got like platinum sponsors all over the place for the convention, but at its heart, it's kind of an SDG thing that we do, right? Like that entire, you walk in and all of our CMs and a lot of our operations team is volunteering, handing out badges, getting you t-shirts, getting you whatever you need.
It's easy to find volunteers when you just look in your address book for your company, right?
Yeah. So it is for us, It's a great convention. I love having speakers from all over the place hang out, going to the talks, and I enjoy doing them. But I also enjoy, for us as a company, it's kind of it's one of those things a year now, and we have fewer and fewer of these, where pretty much the entire company is under one roof for a day or for an afternoon, and that also feels special as as an SDG employee, having just constantly bumping into people that, I mean, if you're not on a project with somebody, you don't see them for a while.
Right.
I probably won't see a handful of these people until, well, maybe the Saints game, but outside of that, maybe the Christmas party or something. So that also feels kind of special, is to be able to see so many colleagues, so many peers, and all of them at the same time under the same roof.
You have a lot of those Steve Jobs accidental interactions with folks that you might not normally see throughout the weeks or anything like that. Funny, on the flip side of that, I work with a guy who went to the conference from SDG. I saw him at about 8:30 walking over to the vendor tables, and I never collided with him in any of the speaker things. We all picked different the whole day, and never bumped into each other until we made a conscious effort to catch up with each other. But I did lunch. Like the fun interactions, just kind of bumping into folks.
Yeah, I like the lunch hour because it lumped together, and then I got to see a lot of people. There's a lot of people I've worked with in the past. It's just an embarrassment of riches in terms of networking and being around your peers.
One of the biggest things too, right? Like, not only lunch, right? Because I had my talk was right before lunch, and then there was a handful of people that wanted to talk to me and my co-presenter immediately afterwards. So I was late for lunch, but just setting up situations where you can do that, that's super important. So lunch was great. The quick happy hour that we had on site right after, that was awesome. I wish more people would have stuck around for that, because it's a great opportunity for our SDG as as a company, some of the operations people that might not get to interact with customers as much, but they do hear the names all the time, right?
For sure.
It'd be great. It's a great time for those folks to interact with customers and clients and prospective clients and all the people that we hear about in the status reports that we all do every single week.
Every week without fail.
Every week without fail, yeah. But that's great. And also, for me, it was kind of cool to see a couple of folks who have absolutely zero interest in the topic that I was presenting from operations make a point to just come and watch my talk, just to kind of be slightly supportive.
Because they looked at the schedule right, and they read it as 11 a.m. instead of 1.
I mean, the people that read the schedule correctly.
Yeah.
That was really neat. So thank you, Cassandra, I saw her in the back. She snuck over specifically to just, see, and then said, I didn't understand any of that, but it was wonderful that she put forth the effort to come say hi. So that was cool. That was really cool.
I went, and you see all the green shirts, all the helpers, all the people that, are setting things up and working the registration tables and working the different buildings and all that. That volunteer force of SDG folks. I think one of the things I really have been impressed with is that it's company agnostic. When you get there, it's like, yeah, we have the volunteers, but we're just another booth among all the rest, and a few speakers among all the rest. And it's really a community event for the developer community. And Jeff works, I think, really hard at that. If people saw the work and stuff that he goes through, it's incredible, but he's got it dialed in.
It makes you not want to put on a conference, I'll tell you that.
We do that one night big event every year, and that's enough for me.
That's plenty.
And Vanessa, don't forget, Vanessa, I forget our intern's name. Vanessa, last name Barnes, maybe.
I believe that's correct.
Yeah, I know. I kept bumping into her. We have a happy hour for the speakers the day before the event. And she was there, and I've seen her in the office. I come into the office. I try to be there most Thursdays. I've seen her nonstop getting ready for this, and then actually stuck out the entire day at St. Thomas and the entire happy hour, even though she's only 19, which moment of personal growth. Kind of have to remind myself that not every person I see at these things is 21 and over.
Yeah, it's a little different than. It is a funny thing that as you get older, you start to not be able to recognize that age disparity.
I think what I do is I recognize generations, right? And I'll place you in you're 0 to 20. Allison's children that she just had are the same generation for me as, 15, 16-year-old. And then it's like 20 to 40, 40 to 60. I don't see, like, I can't really tell specific ages anymore, but I can tell. And our friend Vanessa was right on that, right on the boundary. So.
Right on the cusp. So, Allison, did you have any fun interactions with folks? Were you able to stick around for lunch or any of that?
Yeah, I got to mingle a little bit for sure. And of course, I enjoyed Megan. Again, she flew in all the way from California, where Riot Games is.
Right.
And she is just a social magnet. She makes friends wherever she goes. So just by being in her general vicinity, I got to meet a lot of new folks.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, and I think I didn't get to spend as much time this year at the conference, but last year I had plenty of time to go around to all of those booths for the sponsors and do the bingo. So you get these cards every OSN and you go to a booth and they'll put a sticker on their square of the bingo card. And once you get them filled out, you can go and submit them for a chance to win a prize. I think the grand prizes are like MacBooks, right? Like really fancy ones.
Fabulous prizes.
Two of them.
Yeah. The vendors sometimes have their own prizes though. So I didn't get the MacBooks, but last year I did win a nice portable Sonos speaker by visiting one of the booths. So that's
jealous.
Always a good time. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I was shocked. I usually am not lucky enough to win actually nice stuff beyond like a t-shirt. Well, and I also remember visiting this one booth in particular for Datadog, which I'd known was used on a couple of my projects, but I never really went in there. I kind of figured it was just a developer thing to monitor errors and stuff like that. But I was walking around with a group of designers, and when they learned that at the booth, they're like, oh, let me show you all of these really cool like usability testing features. And we have like heat maps and eye tracking and click tracking and all of this stuff that you can use to monitor the usability of your system and use to like figure out what's really important for you to work on next. So that was just really cool for me to know because it was right under my nose. And I never even realized I had it available to me.
Well, I'm glad you said something because I've never heard that either. And I've used Datadog, so as a developer.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like extra set of features that you need to opt into or whatever, but we have it for one of my projects now, and I check in every once in a while, and it's really good data to know as we start rolling it out to more and more users.
Well, Allison, you'll be pleased to know that we do have that stuff on the project that we're not talking about, but we are both on together.
That's wonderful. I need to start monitoring for that project then too, because now we're live at a little segment. We can start looking at stuff.
Well, and it probably helps with usability and everything like that, right? Like if your heat map isn't looking the way you expect it to, you need to figure out why people aren't using the app the way you're expecting them to.
Exactly, yeah. So you can use it not just for like we're hitting an error technically, but like we're creating some human error here. Like we're not leading people down the paths that we were hoping to. They're getting lost. Right. So yeah, for sure. That's a powerful thing to know.
The users built their own anti-pattern out of your stuff, and it's very mean of them.
How dare
I think we could do a whole podcast on feedback loops, the importance of having that kind of iterative like waves of data coming at you with how things are going, how because you don't know everything. I'm sorry, as much as we think we do, but yeah, seeing real world results like that is, and then being able to make those adjustments to compensate. So I've gone to conferences at big conference centers and Normandale, and that campus is amazing. It's like now if I go somewhere else, it's going to suck. I felt that walking from O'Shaughnessy to the whatever that building was that all the stuff was in, I kind of felt collegiate for a moment.
Yeah, a little bit of collegiate action.
This is what it was. This is what it's like. Okay, this isn't so bad.
Didn't feel like getting on a bus and driving from East Campus to West Campus or anything like that at the
Kyle, when you were mentioning the importance of feedback loops, I keep going back to Megan's presentation because I think she's the coolest. But that made me think of right when she was talking about how even with the best design goals, the best of intentions, the best anti-goals in gaming, you can put out this new feature and players can take it in completely unintended directions. So one example that she gave, again, League of Legends is a game that Riot works on. They put out this little emoji. And it's not an emoji, it's a ping, I think is the term that she called it. I don't play the game, so I'm trying to just remember what all the terms are. But they added this ping with a little icon of a bait hook that tells other players, hey, can you act as bait and like draw out the enemy to like try and kill you, and then I'll pop out of nowhere and I'll kill them instead. But players started instead using that icon to be a different metaphor to tell their fellow team members, like, you really suck. You are playing very terribly and you should feel bad. And it was used to troll people and like create a very negative atmosphere.
You are only playing as well as bait, huh?
It was definitely not.
It's in the trolling world. It's kind of like the final critique of somebody.
Yeah, not great.
It was in no way intended for that.
Right.
But that doesn't matter. It's
right.
What actually happened, and then it's like, okay, we got to change this thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like you can have the best of intentions, but you need to look out for how it's actually being used. To go back to your point of feedback loops. And they have lots of ways of doing that at Riot, I guess. But they needed to address that, whether it was their intention originally or not. And I think it goes to show that when you're doing those anti-goals and that initial work of like, what do we not want to do? It pays off to also think like, how could this new thing we're working on be abused? How could it be used for evil? To go through the worst, like not happy path, the very pessimistic trolley path of what this new thing could be used for.
Low code evil.
Yeah.
Kyle's next talk.
I think my next talk will be why I stopped wanting to use Copilot forever. One little thing. After you type a prompt, it gives you the answer or the result. The insertion point is no longer in the prompt box. So you can't just start typing a reply. You have to click in the box every time. And it couldn't fix itself. I asked it to. It didn't have the chops. So
short of chops.
Oh man. I was fried. I think I'm still fried. My brain, just so many new concepts and ideas and words, jargon. Like it's just so much. It's what? How many sessions?
6.
That's 6 hours. Working that brain muscle is too much for me.
Well, it makes it a good use of time, I guess, for I'm sorry, Peter, you go ahead.
I was just going to say I was surprised that the first session, when they stopped at 40 minutes, I'm like, wait, what? And part of that is because the campus is a little bit bigger, right? And you have to have more passing time to get to the next spot. What were you going to say, Allison?
I was going to say, I mean, it is tiring by the end of the day, right, for those 6 hours. But at the same time, I know some people came from, across the country, from California. I think, Peter, you said someone from Canada, whatever. So it's good that they get the bang for the buck, as it were.
Exactly.
Yeah. Otis, what did you think of the conference?
He was just upset that I came home so late.
Oh.
He was waiting for me upstairs.
Yeah, we'll have to pass that feedback to Jeff for next time.
Yeah. Yes, Jeff. End the conference a couple hours sooner so that I can get to the after party sooner so that I can get home before 1:30 a.m. Right,
it's just like you're tiptoeing in, the room is dark, all of a sudden the light turns on, and the dog is sitting there holding the light switch.
No,
giving you that dirty look.
He was at the top of the stairs waiting.
I think one of these a year is good enough for me, but it did give me kind of a desire to go see a few more conferences, kind of more geared toward my specialty and the things I do. I know there's a Microsoft 365 conference, I think. Used to be SharePoint Saturday that goes on. I think OSN is the biggest open source conference in the state. I don't know of any other ones.
Well, at least in the north, based on the name. But
yeah.
Well, I don't even think it's not really even open source anymore, is it? Right? Because we had talks on Copilot, Bedrock, all the commercial AI offerings. We had a track of kind of geared towards managers, right? The office space management,
For sure.
lesson, office space was great. I don't even know that we can call ourselves an open source. I mean, it's the brand, right? But it's not the content as much.
Right.
Anymore. But it did get me. It does get me briefly excited to attend local things like mini demo and mini bar.
Right.
Those types of things. It's kind of very similar to this. So. Big networking event for people involved in IT in Minnesota. Every once, I fall out of it, and then I go to OSN. I'm like, oh, that's right. We have stuff like that locally that we can attend on a kind of regular basis. We're kind of lucky here. I know we're not like
It's not Las Vegas, but
or Vegas or New York. We don't have like that kind of IT community, but like. It's not nothing. It's pretty nice. So I did bump into somebody that I hadn't seen since I was going to mini demo on a regular basis.
Nice.
And kind of reminded me that I should get out there more, which is a thing that I will do in my free time.
Copious free time, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I think we need to get to the core of like the most important part of conference attendance. What was the best swag that you picked up? Any gadgets, gizmos? I don't know what this does. I think it's like an AirTag thing.
Yeah, the STG
Yeah.
Bluetooth tag. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. I haven't fired it up yet and put it on Peter's car. Know his whereabouts at all times.
I did pull the battery tab out, so I'm ready to go at a minute's notice, and then I'll reverse tag your truck. That'd be fun. We just know where
We'd be following
everybody is.
each other in circles.
Yeah.
I kind of recall I think there's legislation proposed that makes that a gross misdemeanor now if you do that to people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want
Sense.
to.
Yeah.
That's
good
definitely not a law.
legislation. We want
I'll
that.
speed, but I'm not going to gross misdemeanor myself into trouble for sure.
Also, and I recommend everybody do this, find the booth with the coffee mugs. The paper cups were very small. I got an SDG mug as well. And
Yes.
I got a little one of those little spongy
Squishy
stress.
cow. Yeah,
Yeah, that I liked.
stress cow.
I like cows.
There's something about that.
I don't love clutter, so I didn't grab much swag. I grabbed a pen because in the moment I needed a pen. So that is the most interesting bit of swag I got. I think it says STG on it.
I will say that, yeah, I've seen, there was some very cool swag I saw. Some nice water bottles, nice umbrellas, things like that people were hauling around. There were some Rubik's Cubes that intrigued me, but I figured I would fidget through the rest of the day, so that's probably not a great idea for me. But yeah, there's always something new, right? There's always a thing of the year, or fidget spinners long time ago. We've moved way past fidget spinners and moved on to apparently Bluetooth tracking or other things like that. So
Quality swag is where it's at now.
yeah,
Stuff that people actually use. A nice pen, not just a pen with your name on it, but a nice pen, a pen that you want to use. A gel pen, for example.
clicky.
A clicky gel pen. It's like a fidget spinner.
I've got one from last year right in front of me. It's like a cord organizer. It's very simple. It's just like a little plastic thing that you can wrap around, and it connectors. So you can fold your cord over and snap it in place. And last year, someone mentioned Chad, you mentioned that I have small babies now. Last OSN, I was pregnant with them, and I got lots of quality XL shirts that I could wear during those months. So that was primo.
Nice.
Yeah. I always thought that somebody needs to have a fishbowl full of branded like 10 millimeter sockets. You can never have enough of those.
You can't.
Where do they go? Any parting thoughts before we shut her down?
Attending this year's OSN has made me want to attend next year's OSN. It was that enticing so I'm in for next year. I haven't got my ticket yet. They haven't gone on sale, but when they do, I'm in.
Also, same. The other thing that got me excited is I had a couple people approach and ask to do a co-presentation next year, which, I'm super stoked for that.
That's a really nice endorsement. Just getting any feedback is nice, but somebody wanting to co-present, I think that's a really cool thing, Chad.
Very much.
So
Allison, Parting thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is my third OSN, and I feel like it's just continuing to get more and more well thought through, put together. Like everything has been thought of. So I'm just excited to see what they come up with next year, learn even more, network even more, have even more fun.
And I think reiterating Chad's point of it's not just open source anymore.
It's in the title, but it's not in the
I mean,
presentations.
that prevented me from wanting to go for many years, because it's, like it's a little intimidating when you don't write the code. So you have to just live with the button they give you.
That's right.
And it makes me sad. But now I'm going to be there. I hope it's at the same spot. I hope the weather's just as beautiful. We got lucky this year, I think, with the weather. So I recommend it. I would recommend it to a friend or a coworker.
For sure.
If asked.
For sure.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, Allison.
Thank you.
And Peter and Chad. And I think with that, we can say goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Solution Design Group is a digital product consultancy in Minneapolis. Check us out on the web at solutiondesign.com or look for us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram at Solution Design Group.